Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're just going to give it a few minutes. People are still joining the call. We'll be with you very shortly. Okay, well, it's just on 1 minute past 12 Australian Eastern Standard Time, so it's probably worthwhile that we kick off. Depending on your time zone, good morning or good afternoon. Thank you very much for attending today. On behalf of Microsoft and Velrada, we would like to welcome you to our webinar entitled Navigating Microsoft Dynamics in Local Council. We're very fortunate today that we're actually joined by Roger Bouet, who's Manager of Digital Services at Hobsons Bay City Council, who will talk firsthand about their journey and their digital transformation, some of the benefits that they're actually experiencing now. Before we have a look at the agenda, it's my pleasure to do acknowledgement of country. So we begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which this meeting is hosted. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Where Microsoft and Velrada are located in North Sydney, New South Wales, it's home of the Camaragal people, who are part of the Great Eora Nation. So let's have a look at the agenda. We'll do some basic introductions and housekeeping. My name's Mark Reddick. I'm a solution architect at Velrada. I've been working with Dynamics now for the better part of 20 years. I'm very fortunate to be joined by Roger, who will talk a first-hand account of their experience leveraging Dynamics, why they went out to market, how they went through a significant change to their structure in delivering services to their residents, and talk about the benefits that they're now experiencing. Some basic housekeeping. You may notice on the top of the screen there is a Q&A button. Feel free to post any questions that you have during the course of today's presentation in the Q&A window. We will address them. We've also allocated time at the end of the presentation for dedicated question and answers. So as I mentioned before, Hobsons Bay City Council, a relatively new client for Microsoft and Velrada. We'll be talking about their journey. We'll then talk about Velrada, who we are, what we do, why we believe we deserve a seat at the table. We'll talk about our IP and our domain experience in local council. We'll then talk about some of the challenges that local councils are experiencing, both in relation to customer service and meeting customer expectation. We'll talk about some of the financial pressures that council are experiencing, and then we'll get very much into a demonstration where we'll talk about how we can leverage portals for best use of connectivity. We'll look at 360-degree view of stakeholders, their residents, their LGAs, their community organisations, etc. And then we'll talk about how Microsoft's Copilot, which is Microsoft's offering in artificial intelligence, how we can actually leverage that to drive down cost and improve customer satisfaction and just really reduce that level of administrivia that many councils experience. So at this point in time, I'd like to hand you over to Roger. Hey, Rog.
Thank you, Mark. A lot of you already know me. I'm Roger Bouet, Manager Digital Services at Hobsons Bay City Council. We're just a bit of a hamlet on the coast, just near Melbourne. So the civic centre's in Altona. I'm the strategic lead on our ERP strategy, also known as Project Unify. And this is just a brief rundown of our journey to date. Mark, you just flick through the slides. So to explain our journey with Microsoft 365, just need to take a step back in time briefly. So a couple of years ago, just prior to COVID, Hobsons Bay received a new CEO and executive leadership team. They're all pretty tech savvy, and they had and still have a pretty big appetite for change and I'd say progressive disruption. The major change started with a contemporary renovation to the Civic Centre, a move to activity-based working, and a strong focus on business improvement and operational efficiency. The council IT team were given greater executive support and license to make change. We quickly moved to a fully mobile workforce in this time. We rolled out Teams telephony, Teams rooms. We went to the Genesis Cloud contact center system. This is all just prior to COVID hitting really hard. We continued to consolidate our core IT services onto the Microsoft platform where it made sense to do so. We built a really strong Power BI capability, and the organisation really embraced this low-code platform for internal application development. So once the business foundations were in place, the focus of the executive quickly moved to improving customer or community-facing online services. The major challenge for IT for us was that we simply didn't have the technical foundations in place for the required level of transformation. Fortunately, in that time prior to this, we'd been quietly working on formulating an ERP strategy that could support a major uplift to our online customer services and deliver an integrated platform to better support this and our internal business operations. The approach to the ERP strategy and business case development was pretty standard. We considered our current system landscape and the offering from the major players in this space with a view to consolidate our core applications and services onto a single platform. And this is to support better system integration and support of the platform itself, both internally and externally, and with the hope to reduce our overall software costs. We also conducted a significant amount of internal and external consultation as we progressed with this strategy. And it wasn't so much on which platform or system to adopt, but how staff and councils and the public wanted it to work. So some of the key factors that tipped us towards the Microsoft Dynamic platform, and I'll expand on this on the next slide, essentially was the depth of the service offering, the scalability of the data and of its data and application architecture, the tenant ownership that really meant a lot to us, security and the strong alignment with our existing Microsoft-based operating environment and the capabilities that we're building, the ability to develop bespoke applications or custom applications in-house, and also the ability we could plug in third-party applications built on Dynamics into our tenant. And finally, the Microsoft stack, it's highly integrated and it's highly mobile. So this enabled accessibility for our customers, but also our staff across the civic centre, libraries. We've got 5 of them, and the field, which is the key reason why we called it Project Unify, and it's essentially helping to connect and bring people together. And the name was actually born out of the Teams telephony project for the same reasons. So Mark, if you could just click to the next slide. So this is essentially our ERP strategy on a page. To summarise it, it shows what we've delivered to date and what's next. Feel free to screenshot it. So the key platform features that we aim to leverage from this was the common data service, and for us, this is comprised of SharePoint, the Dataverse, and Azure. We've got Azure Integration Services as our open API layer. So connecting to third-party applications. Plus Azure DevOps, we've actually recently implemented that, and that's to manage the ongoing development of the Dynamics platform from dev to test to production. Power Automate and Copilot as our automation workflow and AI layer. And obviously familiar with all the standard Office apps. So, and for us, it includes SharePoint as well, and Power Apps and Power Pages. We've got Power BI as our reporting capability, and of course on the right there, security and compliance. And so security and access control, and that includes business to customer authentication for the public-facing portal and forms. And it's integrated across the entire platform. And as you know, strong security is critical when dealing with public-facing services. So what have we done to date? So the box is in the middle there. So far we've rolled out our electronic document management solution with the intranet on SharePoint. We used AvePoint to support compliance, and we're also using AvePoint for our backup. That's the entire 365 tenant. We rolled out 2 weeks after this in February, the CRM. So essentially it's live. It's a soft launch at this point. The only difference being it's just limited marketing. So with that, we delivered an online portal, so customer portal, online forms and payments, a public request map, so enabling the public to see all requests that have been made and are current. Knowledge base, and we've integrated with more than 5 external corporate applications. We've also just in the process of rolling out rostering. That's Power Roster. That's with Velrada. On June 30, we are going live with our project portfolio management system for managing capital works, and that's with Sensei, and that's an example of a solution that actually plugs into our tenant. And we've developed quite a number of Power Apps now, so approvals app, permissions and access, correspondence, use services. There's quite a number, and it's growing. And essentially, next up is field services, finance, and assets. Just go to the next slide if you could, Mark, and I guess just click through it. And I thought it might be worthwhile, just an example. I just want to, again, on a page, just want to give an end-to-end example, just trying to bring it all together so you can just see what we're essentially trying to achieve. So the example here is, say, I don't know, there's a broken bench. They can log it at this stage. They can log it on SnapSend Solve. It integrates straight through to our CRM. They can log it on the portal through their account, or they can call up and log it over the phone. So essentially, the case is created in the CRM as it currently stands, and moving forward, we want to be able to assign that case to a staff or contractor in the field. Goes for inspections, works order with approvals. They perform the works. Clicking through there, Mark, and then they perform the works. We close the loop with the customer, and then from there in the back end, we've got an update to the assets. It's conditional valuation. Invoices are processed in the finance system and updated, and accounts and ledgers updated. I popped on there Altus, our PPM, and that's relating to asset capitalisation and integration to the finance system. And if you keep clicking through, obviously got Power BI for reporting, and our Power Apps and Power Automate for customised apps and workflow. So that just, again, just trying to put everything on a page and give a sense of what we're trying to achieve, and I guess the flow of a case, and I guess it's being facilitated because it's on a single platform, and and it's highly integrated. So we've got that nice streamlined flow of information. So anyway, look, I've got one more slide, and this is just wanted to speak briefly to the Power BI and the capability that we've built. And I just want to just highlight how quickly, I guess the reporting capability in CRM in particular, once we started generating data in the CRM, the IT team were able to generate a huge number of reports extremely quickly. We're able to gain some really valuable insights into how the CRM was reporting, where the issues were, so they could be addressed quickly. Yeah, so essentially, I guess what I'm saying is that once the data is on the Dataverse, generating reports in Power BI is significantly easier. And just last few things, just want to give a quick shout out to my team and the staff involved in this project. They've been truly incredible. I've never witnessed such willingness and dedication to deliver a project on time and on budget, and just with this continuous improvement. They truly want to perfect this system. And also just shout out to Velrada that helped us roll out the EDMS, the intranet, rostering, and the CRM. So just in closing, before I pass over back to Mark, just in summary, the key elements of this journey and this major change for us, what it required was an executive that is supportive and progressive, with a big appetite for change and that positive disruption. Consultation, I'd say aim for a proportionate level of consultation. It's very hard to get it right. Sometimes I felt like sometimes we didn't do enough, in other areas we did too much. Um, uh, I was lucky to have again an experienced and agile IT team and access to highly capable vendors. The only other thing I'd say that's really important for projects of this size is to have a strategy owner to oversee and drive the strategy and ensure adherence to the long-term plan. So that's all I've got. I might pass it over to Mark to take over.
Thanks, Roger. Look, really appreciate your insights. So just want to spend a little bit of time before we get into the demonstration to talk about Velrada as an organisation. We've been in business now some 14 years. We have in excess of 260 employees around major capital cities of Australia. We've been very successful with Microsoft and deploying Microsoft solutions. We've won quite a few awards, both local and international. In the last 12 months, we've completed in excess of 267 engagements with clients. So we are very much a Microsoft shop. I mentioned before about the awards that we've won. Let's break it down. First and foremost, we are a Microsoft Inner Circle partner that is invite only. It means we're in the top 5% of Microsoft practitioners globally. We've also been a member for a couple of years now of the Partner Advisory Council. Once again, invitation only. We are one of only 40 partners globally that get invited to sit down with Microsoft in Redmond twice a year to talk about what our clients and our prospects and our marketplace is experiencing. Microsoft lifts the kimono and tells us what they're expecting to release over the next 12, 24, 48 months. So it's very much working together in harmony to deliver solutions that satisfy specific requirements for our clients. We've won quite a few awards. 2023 Australia New Zealand Business Applications and Industry Award winner. We were also a finalist in the Global Awards. So out of 4,000 submissions, we were rated second. Yeah, it's not a bad thing, but we're up against some very, very large players globally, but we were able to hold our own. You may notice a number of the gold certifications that Velrada possesses. This is testament to our commitment to delivering technologies on Microsoft. When you consider that these days a business process doesn't start and stop within a business application, so ensuring that you've got the right security, ensuring that you're leveraging all the services that Azure can provide, ensuring that you've got strong ERP, CRM, data platform and analytics and AI capability is absolutely crucial. We've structured the organization to deliver cross-platform solutions. Now, on the right, these are all divisions or teams within Velrada. We can run standalone, or as client requirements dictate, we can actually work together to deliver an end-to-end solution. We've built out our own IP with a solution that we call Power Roster. And as Roger mentioned, that's something that's going to be deployed very shortly within Hobsons Bay City Council to manage all the rostering of their staff, whether that be for libraries, community locations, community services, etc. And it plugs directly into Microsoft and Dynamics as a platform. So I did mention before that we were Australia New Zealand Partner of the Year for Microsoft Business Applications. So out of all the partners in Australia and New Zealand, we were rated number one. That's not just on revenue, that's also based on customer satisfaction. Also too, at a global level, we were a finalist for Partner of the Year, and that's for D365 and our mixed reality offering, which works very, very nicely with field services. Whenever you have a technician out in the field, they can connect to anybody around the world, leveraging Teams and mixed reality, deliver a first fix solution. We talk about our domain experience within local council. Our largest, of course, would be Brisbane City Council. We've had a multi-year engagement with Brisbane City Council, updating their waste management services capability. You've already heard from Roger from Hobsons Bay City Council. Another big client that we've worked with is Penrith City Council, and I'll just bring up a case study. Leveraging out-of-box functionality of D365 means that they've been able to automate in excess of 80% of their business processes. So what that basically means is that the level of connectivity that they have with their residents means that there's been a 70% reduction in requests for updates on open cases. What does that mean? That means that residents are much more satisfied. They understand exactly what's going on with their particular requests, whether it be a DA, whether it be a dog registration, whether it be requesting permits for pools, or whether it be focusing on waste management services, tree management, or pothole repairs, etc. But what it basically means is that you've got an improved customer experience. They've been able to track their service level agreements with external subcontractors, which basically means that Penrith City Council are getting the best bang for their buck when they deal with third-party providers. They've got absolute strong visibility and that 360 degree view of their resident. A significant reduction in internal phone calls and email traffic and internal memos means that they've got the strongest levels of collaboration. Now, I'll bring up this next slide. I know that Roger's probably a little bit too humble to have mentioned what they were able to achieve, but based on the work that they're doing with D365 and Microsoft, they were named in IT News Benchmark Awards for 2024 as a finalist for the Best Local Government Project. So they were pretty chuffed with it. We were absolutely chuffed with that. So fantastic news, Roger. It just means that you are on the right track. So when we talk about D365 as a solution, we are leveraging Microsoft's platform. So what that basically means, if we look at the top pillar, the ability to actually leverage and expose functionality to public-facing websites, leveraging Microsoft Power Pages, to having a very close-knit marketing solution, leveraging D365 customer journeys. We also have customer voice, which is a customer satisfaction tool, and I'll give you an example of that. One of the core tenets of Project Unity for Hobsons Bay City Council was to have access regardless of the device that you're on. So whether it's a smartphone, whether it's a tablet, or whether it's a laptop, being able to connect with the workloads that you need to actually have. This middle layer is the business applications layer. So we've got sales and marketing, we've got customer service, which is a very strong offering for local council. And we've built out a number of accelerators to really reduce time to market and level of effort to get to market. Business Central, finance operations are our core financial platform. Project operations manages works. Field service, we deal a lot with organisations involved with asset management. And I got to tell you, local councils typically have the lion's share of asset management requirements, fully supported by detailed integrated supply chain management, and then of course HR. This purple line that you see across the board is Velrada's IP. We mentioned before about Power Roster, the ability to actually schedule resources to walk, to put them on a roster, to give them roster swapping capability, and we've tightly integrated that with Microsoft technologies. At the bottom layer is arguably one of the most important. That's the Microsoft Cloud platform, where we can leverage all the services that Azure make available. So whether that's integration, whether that's data storage, whether that's leveraging cognitive services from Azure to leverage artificial intelligence, it's very, very strong. And we use that platform to integrate with other local council point solutions, whether it's a rates, billing, infringement solution as an example. Backing up on that from an employee productivity perspective, we've got Microsoft Copilot, and I'll give you some practical demonstrations of that very shortly. What that basically means is that we can leverage AI to drive improved customer service, to reduce the administration that's required to achieve those levels of customer service. And then we integrate it with technologies that you're probably already familiar with. So whether that's Teams, whether that's SharePoint, whether that's Outlook, and then backing it up with what we call the Power Platform. So Power BI from a reporting perspective, Power Apps, which is the low-code, no-code ability to create an app that's specific for a piece of particular work. Power Automate is the workflow engine of D365. Then you've got Power Pages, which are the portal capabilities, the ability to expose either via the internet or an intranet, the ability to access information, populate information in real time. Copilot Studio gives us our ability to actually extend the base functionality that's offered by D365 Copilot. Now, we work with a lot of councils, and what we can actually see, sorry, I'm just getting my pointer back. What we actually see as far as some of the challenges that they experience can be broken down into a couple of key areas. Understanding that local councils have all the requirements of large-scale enterprise organisations. Unfortunately, they don't have the IT budget or the services budget to really drive down and make those significant investments. So when you consider that if we take Victorian local councils, whether you're metropolitan, whether you're regional, when rate capping was introduced in 2015, you had the ability to increase rates, but that comes with a cost. If you wanted to increase rates based on the rate cap that's been applied by the Essential Services Commission, you had to show just cause. That is, have you had a population increase, or have you had a significant investment in works and capital works? So increasing rates is one way to improve the financial position of council's bottom line. We don't believe that's sustainable, potentially because you've got significant rising supply chain costs. You're having to deal with more financial hardship cases with the residents that you have. And then it needs to be backed against the increasing demands and expectations of your residents. Reducing revenue leakage, well, we call that best practice. That's the ability to ensure that people pay their rates on time, pay any infringements on time, etc., etc. So from a financial perspective, look, you've got limited windows of opportunity here, and ideally the best way you can actually increase financial bottom line for council is to reduce the cost of doing business with council. Let's look at some of the customer engagement challenges that local councils experience. We speak with a lot of councils, both metropolitan and regional, and what we see are that there are some significant inconsistent processes. If you asked 5 customer service people how to actually complete a particular workload, more often than not, you'll get 5 different ways of achieving the same outcome. If you don't standardize those business processes, there's no way you can get to best practice associated with those business processes. Unreliable data entry, and double data entry. If you have to touch data more than once, something is fundamentally wrong. And then compare that against maintaining regulatory compliance and administrative compliance with local council activities. It's absolutely crucial that you have a detailed audit trail for everything that you actually do. Having delayed responses or missed service level agreements, both in terms of services offered to residents, but also SLAs that you expect from your subcontractors is absolutely crucial also. So how can we actually employ a solution that manages these 4 key areas of council? You're probably familiar with an organisation called JWS Research. This is a recent review that they did of both metropolitan and regional councils in Victoria. And what they did over a 10-year period was review the preferred method of contact with council. And you can see going from 2012 to 2022, in-person, telephone and email are the top 3 channels of interacting with council. I would argue that in-person and telephone are the most expensive ways of dealing with council. So how can we drive the most cost-effective way of dealing with council? And that would be via a website. And if you look at from that purple line between 2012 to 2022, website interaction is actually on the decline. There's a number of reasons for that, which I'll talk about very shortly. It's having that UX or that user experience where people can access the information when they need to access it. And there's nothing more frustrating than hitting a website, not being able to find the information that you're looking for. You spend 5-10 minutes and then you pick up the phone and you're already aggravated, and you basically sound out to the customer service operator that answers the phone. So that's not doing anybody any favors. So let's have a look at what we would call a seamless and integrated end-to-end solution. So when we talk about dealing with residents, and we understand that there are a number of challenges there, we have what we call our omni-channel approach for residents to make contact with council. That can be through social media, that can be through email, that can be through face-to-face or walk-ins, telephone, etc. Now, do understand that you have a very diverse resident base. Some would be construed as digital natives. They're very familiar with leveraging technology. They use websites on a regular basis. But then the other end of the spectrum, you could be dealing with someone that doesn't have a smartphone, somebody that doesn't have a home computer. So how do we ensure that no one is compromised by their ability to connect with council based on their level of digital awareness? Well, we have omni-channel, and this can be anything from website, live chat, chatbots. We can convert chat discussions into a live call, leveraging Teams, but it's really giving the resident information that they need, that they can self-service when it actually suits them, that they can actually access a knowledge base and potentially answer questions and deflect that request before it even gets to council. If they do have to log a case, it's logged quickly and effectively. The customer service operator can actually see the processing that's taking place behind the scenes for that particular request from the resident, and they can see at any point in time what stage they're at in terms of resolving that issue. The ability to allocate resources, both internal to council and external to council, leveraging subcontractors, particularly around waste management, is where we actually see a lot of local councils going out to the subcontractors, whether it be Cleanaway, Ramondis, Biola, etc. But then keeping the resident in the loop. Now, some residents like to be kept in the loop. Some residents don't want to be notified by council that something has been addressed and has been resolved. So how do we ensure that everybody is happy across the board? Well, let's have a look, and we'll get into the demonstration now, and we'll look at a couple of scenarios. And what I will just do is swap my screens, and I'll share my main screen. And what we'll do is look at a fit-for-purpose portal within council website. So this is Velrada City Council. It's reasonably straightforward in its layout. I can see information relating to payments, whether they be paying rates, querying rates, parking fines, permit applications, applying for DAs, applying for parking permits, etc., and waste. Now, once again, speaking to council, and I know I'm probably speaking to the converted here, the number one reason why a resident would contract council is typically around waste management. The second reason is dependent on whether or not you're metropolitan or regional, but it would either be pothole repairs or it could be tree management. But how do we actually access the information that we want when we need to? And we can do that via a chatbot. And we've got Velbot, the Velrada City Council chatbot. If anybody has had the unfortunate experience of dealing with a chatbot that hasn't been tuned or configured correctly, you do have my sympathies. They can be very, very frustrating. But this is where we can actually leverage artificial intelligence to really take chatbots to the next level. Now, I'll just bring up another screen. Please bear with me. Okay, so we've got welcome to the Velrada City Council. My name's Velbot. I'm the council's virtual assistant. How can I help you today? So, well, the first thing I might want to know is, I don't know, can I put a used coffee cup into the recycling bin? I'll just populate that now. Now, The virtue of using Copilot is that we can actually access data sources, whether that's internal to council or external via the council's website. So you can actually see the response that we immediately got. To dispose of a used coffee cup, recycling bin, check if the cup is made from plastic bottles, code 1 or code 2, and you can see that this is coming directly from the Hobsons Bay website. So 2 clicks and I've got the information that I actually need. So I haven't had to do any searches. It was pretty straightforward and life is pretty good. I might want to know how to actually report a pothole. So let's type that in. How do I report a pothole? Okay, so once again, this is leveraging Copilot Studio. So we're connecting to external data sources. So I can request a service and well, actually, yeah, I do want to request a service request. So I'm going to do that now. It's going to ask me some basic questions. So it's firstly asking me whereabouts is the pothole located. Now I'm just going to put an address here. Maplewood Street or Maplewood Crescent. Would that be Maplewood Avenue in the suburb of Sunflower? Yes, it would be. Fantastic. Now we need some details. So I'm going to populate them now. Critic, and I'll just take my email address. I'm going to put in today's date, and I'm going to say a very, very large pothole has appeared. That'll do. So what's happening now? It's actually creating the case for me, and it's given me the case number, and the council will get back to me within 1 day. Did that answer your question? Yes, it did. Fantastic. So what I'll actually do now is just go into Dynamics, and we're going to cover off a few things here. I'm just going to refresh the screen. And you can see that a very, very large pothole case is now in my dashboard. So this is a standard dashboard offering from D365. I can leverage out-of-box dashboarding capability, or I could create a dashboard that comprises not only D365 data, but also Power BI information too. So if I click on this report, we can see that it's a pothole repair. It's come from this particular customer, Mark Rettig. I can see Mark's details here. I can see that Mark has reported quite a number of potholes. So that gives us the opportunity to see the level of engagement that this particular resident has had with council. Now, you'll notice running left to right of the screen, we've got 3 what I'd call bullet points. So we're following a case associated with various stages that need to be completed to address this situation. So I can populate the case title, I can put in additional information, but as an operator, I can see at a glance that this review has been in for less than a minute, and the next stage would be to do some level of triage and then send a rectification email to the customer. If I actually scroll down, I can see that we've got a service level agreement applied to this. So based on best practice, we've got less than 24 hours to resolve this case for as far as service level agreement is concerned. I can put in particular pothole dimensions that could come as a level of triage if we have a council officer go out and actually review that particular pothole, and then we can actually define the pothole severity. So that's just one example of how we apply what we call a touch data once methodology. So what I'm going to do is, with the passage of time for the purposes of demonstration, I'm going to resolve this particular case, and I'm going to say that the case has now been completed and the pothole has been repaired. So reasonably straightforward. What's happening in the background is that workflow is being triggered. And what we'll actually do is via email, send out to Mark a customer survey. And that will pop up very shortly. When it does, I will get it to you. What we did actually see is that when I first lodged the portal case via for the pothole, we immediately got an email. Thank you for reaching out. Your request is this. It's been received and it's being reviewed by our team. So it's confirming that we've actually received that request. And now we've also got a customer survey that's actually come through. Dear Mark, thanks for being our valued customer. Your feedback is carefully considered. Please tell us how your recent support experience was. And I'll click on that. And we can leverage what's called customer voice. So I can actually go in now and say that, yes, overall I was pretty satisfied. It took as expected. I could say that I was satisfied across the board. And I could actually go in and submit that case. It goes against my record. It means that people get to see that information and can tune their services as and when actually required. So that's a practical example of how we can leverage a fit-for-purpose portal, reduce the level of administration. There was no rekeying of information, but keeping the customer in the loop. And as I mentioned before, some customers like to be notified. Some customers don't ever want to hear from council. They know the pothole has been resolved because the pothole has been repaired, as an example. Let's change tack now and look at how we can actually leverage Copilot or artificial intelligence to drive down cost and improve customer satisfaction. You'll notice here, this is my main list of active cases. I can go in and edit the columns that I actually see here. If I wanted to add columns, I've got all the information that's available in the Dataverse to create a view that's important to me so I can see the information that I actually need to see. I've got the ability to filter on information. So actually what I'm going to do is filter on our customer, and that customer is going to be Josh Kaufman. So I can see all the council activities that Josh has actually engaged in. And you can see that here I've got graffiti removal, where we see that Josh has reported some graffiti as an example. So someone has sprayed graffiti all over the playground equipment. That's important to note because if that playground equipment is managed by council, it's council's responsibility. If I take another case and I'll say graffiti on my front street, okay, that's also important, depending on is it relating to parks, buildings, or associated council activities. What I just want to do is just bring up a graffiti that's actually on Josh's private property. So bear with me. I'll just bring up the right one. I know it's got some data behind it. Bear with me. Okay, so what I might need to do now is to say that, well, graffiti, it's terrible, but it's at a local bus stop. Is that council's responsibility? Well, maybe I just need to know, leveraging Copilot, how can I request graffiti removal at my local bus stop? You can see that the question's already been populated for me. And we're going to have Copilot suggest some responses. All right, so we can say, to request graffiti removal, you can follow these steps. Contact your local government or transportation authority responsible for maintaining the bus stop. They'll have a designated department that handles graffiti removal. You need to give them specific information, the actual location, street name, any identifying landmarks. We need to determine whether or not it's offensive, because that will ultimately determine how critical or how important it is to resolve this issue straight away. Be patient. Reporting graffiti maintains the cleanliness, etc. So that's really good to know. If I wanted to see that in different languages, I have up to 45 different languages. So if I wanted to see that in Arabic, I will see it in Arabic. If I wanted to see it in Italian, I will see it in Italian. That's all important. But if I actually wanted to send an email to Josh, what I can actually do is just close this. I'll bring up the same graffiti removal again, but I'm going to send an email. And what I'm going to do is send an email to Josh, but I want Copilot to actually write it for me. And I want to resolve the client's problem, or I could empathize with his feedback, or I could request more information. So this is Copilot in action that's been trained to look at all the information associated with graffiti removal. So I'm writing an email, but I'm not necessarily good at writing emails. So we'll get Copilot to write it for me. If I'm happy with this response, I can actually copy it over to the main body of email that will go out to Josh. I might want to change that and say, well, that's a little bit too informal. So I'll say, Mr. Kaufman, as an example. And that's great if English is Mr. Kaufman's first language, but if it's not, and he prefers, and we have it on record, Italian is his preferred language, well, we can also give him a bilingual email being sent out. So the first one is in Italian, and then the second is in English. So that's arguably one of the best ways that I could see artificial intelligence improving customer satisfaction and driving down cost associated with performing council business. Okay, so that was a very quick example of how we can leverage fit-for-purpose portals, how we can actually get a 360-degree view of the customer. And to do that, I'm just going to bring out Josh's contact details. So we've got, for this particular issue, from a graffiti removal perspective, we've got property details. We can see various case relationships, if any have been created, or I can actually drill down and have a look at Josh as a resident. So I can see his contact details. I've got a map view of his specific location. I've got every interaction that I've had with Josh, and it's been summarized before for me by Copilot. So we can see key highlights that have been generated by artificial intelligence, that we need to do a reservice for the bin. Phone call was made to confirm material of the fence that was affected by graffiti, every interaction. So whenever we close a case, we can actually have Copilot do the summary for us. And you're standardizing those case summaries. I can have a look at particular properties, and we can see that for this particular property, the various services that can be actually applied. So what services does this particular property have? They have bulk waste collection. They've got 2 left for this financial year. We've got the red bin, yellow bin, green bin service. We can see drivers' GPS reports. Now, if you deal with the likes of Cleanaway or third-party waste contractors, they can actually make a note if their bin wasn't actually cleared for this particular property, the reason why the bin wasn't cleared, and any comments that they actually want to make, and whether or not there was an obstruction or we need to do a resupply for this particular client. So this is that 360-degree view of our particular resident, Josh Kaufman. All right, so with the time that we have remaining, I'll just go back to our slide deck again. And I will stop sharing and I'll reshare my screen. So we saw very, very quickly how we can actually leverage Microsoft technology to increase customer satisfaction, reduce the administrivia associated with doing council business, standardizing business process, adopting that touch data once model. That's the most effective way to reduce admin cost. How we can actually leverage workflows, how we can leverage artificial intelligence to really drive superior customer service, but reducing the actual cost of performing that service. So our call to action is, if anything that you've seen today could potentially be of value to your local council, give us a phone call. Let's just start that discussion. There's a number of programs that we can leverage from Microsoft to run a number of workshops, potentially define a plan moving forward. So on that note, I'd like to open up the forum for Q&A, if anybody has any.
There's a few questions, Mark, in the Q&A, probably towards Roger as well.
All right, let me just bring them up. Just waiting for the Q&A questions to load. Okay, so from Ellie, currently at the design phase of CRM customer portal and third-party integration support requests. Oh, that's probably one for you, Roger.
Oh, thanks. I guess just in regard to things like change control frameworks and project management frameworks, I won't don't ask me to recite them. We've used a number, and essentially just tweak them to suit our organisation. I guess the resources that we have available, like we've got a number of people who are working in the project management space and the control and change control space, but that will impact on I guess how far you go with some of these frameworks. So we're not that strict. Product owners are really important. I think they're important to establish and maintain the ownership of the system and to be a spokesperson for that solution, and they typically in our, like, I guess as an example, when we rolled out our projects, we formed a project control group, and we did it for each project. Some organisations might go, we want one that does, we did EDMS, CRM, PPM. We had separate ones because that enabled us to focus on each project and manage resources, manage change. We also had, within that was a project working group that reported to the PCG, and then beneath that you had all your subject matter experts. And I guess with lessons learned in terms of maintaining new systems, we're in that process now. I'll probably say, in terms of don't underestimate the I guess the time for your staff to learn these new platforms. Often takes longer than you think. I think one of the reasons why we liked Dynamics and 365 is that anything your staff learn is transferable. Generally, the staff are very keen to learn the platform, but it is fairly complex. It's infinitely configurable and very powerful. So basically, start that early. We were lucky enough that Velrada assists us with the setup of DevOps, and essentially that's for us. That's really it's an end-to-end agile project management and development pipeline management system. So we actually use that to help manage, I guess, the work from development in dev, testing, and then pushing out to production. And that also works with, so we actually work with existing systems like, say, for instance, Sensei, the Altus. So we actually co-develop with them, and the changes emerged at the end into production. So yeah, I guess the tips are start early and leverage those existing systems, because they they do work, and it's been a godsend. And I guess the only other thing is just setting up processes to prioritize the improvements and any bugs you want to fix. especially in the initial phases when you go through that, that first rollout. It's you establish that minimum viable product, which is very important to just get it out there and get people using it, because that's when you realise what needs to be fixed and what improvements you'd like to have changed. And for us, like I was saying, our team, it was really dedicated, really keen to make the system the best it could be. So we've got a lot of improvements that are essentially sitting there, where they've been assessed, they've been prioritised, and there is a lot of them. So we basically again developed our own, I guess, method that suited us to, I guess, evaluate and prioritise. And we actually had a lot of involvement from our director and our executive in that process as well, because they've also got a stake in how they want to see what they want from the system, and the direction that it takes in terms of all those, I guess, those works, those BAU works and continuous improvement. Hope that answered the question.
I hope you're happy with that, Ellie. I guess in summary, it's having the appropriate project governance to manage scope creep, and most importantly, to having that senior executive leadership on board to guide you through that journey and that sponsorship. A couple of questions from Natasha, and then we'll go to Jeffrey. So Natasha's asked, this is going to be topical, Rog. Did you at any point use any proprietary software like Tech1, Civica, or Info? And if yes, have you moved away from them completely?
Well, we have. I guess one example is Objective, and just to point out, Objective is an excellent document management system. It's probably one of the best out there. It's just, we've got a strategy, and we essentially moved away. We did move away from it. Depending on the licensing model that you have or the contract, we're fortunate to have a perpetual license, so we can actually keep it in archive as a backup. So we're not using it anymore. It's essentially locked down, but we can still access it. As for we're actually using, for the CRM, we're using Confirm. That's also our asset management system. Again, it's a rock solid asset management solution. And obviously we felt we wanted to, I guess, enhance the online experience and really take ownership of it. So Confirm is currently in a hybrid state. So we're using Dynamics for our CRM, and we've basically moved away from that component of Confirm. And yeah, I think that's the main two. And I guess with PPM, the project portfolio management, the capital works team had a really, I guess, sophisticated Excel spreadsheet solution for it, and we've basically systematized that. We've moved away from that. So yeah, it can be done. I would suggest working with those companies fairly early. Look at the contracts as well, just see what the structure is. Are there perpetual licenses? Pay close attention to the renewal clauses, so you can give them fair notice if you are moving away, and the timing. And yeah, I guess that's been our experience in terms of moving away from these other systems. And like I said, it's not to say they're not good. It's just about sticking to the strategy.
Awesome. Natasha also asks, how large is your IT development team with the responsibility to manage the SDLC, so the software delivery lifecycle? I think you touched on that with DevOps.
Yeah, look, we've got to look. I've been at Hobsons Bay for a long time. My team's been there for a long time. I describe them as being really quite battle hardened. They're very dedicated, very knowledgeable, extraordinarily efficient. We generally, people stay, they don't go. We've added a small number of people. I think I've got 14 in total. And we've also got a business transformation team with I think about there's about 3 people doing some additional development. So yeah, probably, I don't know, 17, 18 in total, perhaps. All working on different parts of the platform. I'd say we're still, like I said, we're really capable on the Power BI side. We've got pretty good Power App capabilities. We're still learning integration services, still learning about Power Pages, and we've got pretty good capabilities in Power Automate. So it's a bit of a patchwork, and so everyone has a role, and everyone's essentially cross-skilling, and we try to embrace. So someone's got a really keen interest in a certain part of it. I try and support it, because that's where I guess where the interest is, that's where the motivation is, and then you really get those results. So yeah, very close-knit team, but relatively small for what we've delivered, I believe.
It also goes back to, I think, Velrada's engagement too, where not just local councils, but any industry, we will give you as much hand-holding as you want. You can take as little or as much responsibility as you like to, but knowing that you're going to have a partner always be there to back you up when you need it.
Yeah, no, sorry, and remiss there. Look,
shameless
try to find. Yeah, I'd say just building those relationships with the external vendors. I look at our vendors being really they're part of the community. Finding people you can work with, finding those that will assist you on your own journey, and Velrada's been very good there. They've got I think they're Genius Bar service, so we can call on them to assist us in our own development internally. They've also provided a lot of assistance to us setting up with the DevOps solution most recently. But yeah, so finding good vendors, and I guess working with your team closely and following their interests and supporting them.
Awesome. Now, we've got a question from Jeffrey. Could you provide an overview of how you are managing property and rating? You noted TBA on your slides. What are you currently using, and is there a Dynamics 365 solution?
Really good question. We're currently on Open Office, probably.gov. That's part of our, I guess, that's a bit still a future question. We will need to do an upgrade. Would need to do something in that space, and it's really about. I think there are dynamic solutions, but we haven't looked into it yet. That's something I'd be very, very cautious and with a great amount of care in that space, just because it's so critical to what council does. We do property, we do addresses. The most important thing, however, is about the integration. We've built integration with property.gov. It does need to be better, but it may be resolved by a future upgrade. It's something that, again, I guess it would have been nice if we had a really well integrated solution ready before we moved on, but we that's a future consideration. Not
awesome.
Well enough said, but best I could do.
That's good, Rog. Look, our focus and philosophy is very much if council has an existing property rating solution that's doing the job, then let's integrate with it. Let's not go be super disruptive.
Yeah, and yes, especially too. You only do this where it makes sense. It's not you don't just do Dynamics for the sake of Dynamics. It really has to make sense, and and also you think about costs and the like. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, look, I don't see any more questions on
Mark,
Q&A.
there was just one more question. It's in the chat thread.
Oh, my bad. Please hold. Okay, from Karen. I am an organisational change manager for a council. I am interested to hear how your staff found the change. Was it a large transformation from what they were used to? In terms of the people side, what worked well for you and what didn't? That's a very good question.
It's a very good question. And probably not the best. Oh, well, look, it was. Look, I have to say it was in some projects. For instance, the EDMS Internet project. The change management went quite smoothly. We did a lot of work around training. We had training videos. We did on-site training. We put a lot of effort into that. But I think one of the key things there was the organisation was that they enjoyed. I think they took to using SharePoint quite easily. I think they're all actually quite keen for that change because it's easy to work with. So we found that the EDMS Internet project was actually very, very seamless. I didn't get any I guess issues come back to me around that. CRM, on the other hand, given it just because it touched so many people within the organisation, that was that it went. I think look, I feel like it went as well as it could have, given the amount of time and resource that we had. There's probably some things I probably would have done a little bit differently, but it's never. I guess it's never really easy. And I think some of the change management could have been improved by rolling out these parts of the solution together. For instance, again, with the 2020 vision of hindsight, I probably would have pushed to have field services rolled out together with Dynamics CRM, because it would have made the lives of our field staff a lot easier. And so when we're going through that change, we put integration, but we had to have a lot of, I guess, they required a lot more assistance with that change, just because of the integration is never going to be as good as when you're operating on the same platform. So what was it? Sorry, Mark, I can't see that question. What was the other part of it?
Was it a large transformation for what they were used to? I think you've covered off what worked well. What didn't?
Oh, so I guess what worked well. Look, it was again, CRM. It was by far the largest. I think what worked well was we had we took on, actually, one of the key things that we did was we took on the training ourselves. We did have some assistance from Velrada at the start to train the trainer, but we realised that we really need to get far more involved and take a much higher level of ownership. So we really pushed that idea of that sort of train the trainer internally. So we have people who are essentially trained up, highly skilled on the platform to assist people across the organisation. I think that was probably one of the key things that worked well in our favour.
Yeah, I think cultural change is always something that's unique to the culture of each organisation that's working. Some need to be handheld, some want to steamroll ahead, and it's really finding that middle ground more than anything else.
But sorry, Mark, just on that though, I'd just like to say if there's if you want to get in contact with me, more than happy, and we can get some of the project team members in the call, so we can talk about some of that stuff in more detail. That's probably the best way to do it.
Awesome. Well, look, we're over time, but really appreciate everybody's attendance. Thanks very much for coming along today. Hope you got some benefit out of today's session.